Welcome back, my dear students. Discovering Tut, the saga continues by A.R. Williams, Part 2. This is the third chapter of Prose, and I am going to start the explanation part today. Discovering Tut, the saga continues, lesson and explanation. So here I have the first paragraph of the chapter. The word meanings are already given just for your help, and I'm going to start the explanation. Tutankhamun, also known as Tut, was a teenager when he died. He was the last successor of his powerful pharaoh dynasty, which ruled Egypt and its empire for centuries. He was laid on rest, heavily loaded with gold. His tomb was discovered in 1922, which made the world raise a question about what had happened to him and whether he had been murdered. After almost 80 years, his body was about to undergo a CT scan, which would give new information and clues about his life and death. His face would be recreated with the help of a procedure called forensic reconstruction. Next paragraph. The word meaning is already given. As Jahi Hawass, Secretary General of Egypt, leaned over the body to have a look, he said that the mummy was in a very bad condition because of what the British archaeologist Howard Carter did to it in the 1920s. He discovered King Tut's tomb in 1922 after a long search. The valuable treasures of Tut had been explored earlier too, but surprisingly they were complete. The treasure found at Tut's grave is the richest till date and has come back to be known as the Pharaoh's legend. It has artifacts in gold which are eternally beautiful and as good as new. Such artifacts still get attention. Tut was buried with things of daily use like a razor made of bronze, games, linen, undergarments, and boxes of food and wine which he could use in the next life. Next paragraph. Carter took a few months to record the treasures found in Tut's grave. Then he began investigating his 3 coffins, which were nested one in another. In the first coffin, he found a piece of cloth with garlands of willow, olive leaves, wild celery, lotus petals, and cornflower, which suggested that he had been buried in the months of March or April. When he reached the 3rd coffin, he was in trouble. The body had hardened due to the resins which had cemented the body, and it had stuck to the bottom of the coffin, which was made of gold. Carter wondered what to do next because no amount of force could separate the two. Next paragraph. The sun can beat down like a hammer. This far south in Egypt, and Carter tried to use it to loosen the resins. He did it by keeping the body in the hot sun. He kept the mummy in 149 degrees Fahrenheit heat for several hours, but still it remained stuck. He reported that a chisel could be used to cut down the mummy from the limbs and the trunk so that Tut's body could be taken out of the coffin. Next paragraph. According to Carter, he had no choice other than to cut the mummy. He believed that if he had not done that, thieves would have removed the gold from the tomb and would have looted it. During Tut's time, the royal people were very wealthy and they had a belief that after death they could take the wealth along with them. For his life after death, he was given precious collars, necklaces and decorative patterns, bracelets, rings, amulets, ceremonial aprons, sandals, sheaths for fingers and toes, and now an iconic inner coffin and a mask. His men removed his head and every joint of his body. After they finished, they resembled the remains in a wooden box with padding filled with a layer of sand to conceal the damage. It was his new resting place. Next paragraph. In the past few decades, archaeology has changed as it is now focuses on the details of life and the mysteries of death. Earlier it was about focusing on the treasure. Now it uses more advanced medical technologies and tools for research. In 1968, an anatomy professor x-rayed King Tut's mummy and revealed that the front limbs and breastbone were missing. Next paragraph. Now with the advancement of technology, CT scan or computed tomography can give a virtual image of the whole body. With the help of this technology, King Tut's body would be scanned to find answers to two questions: how he died and how old was he at the time of his death. His death was a shock to the royals also, as he was the last person of his family, and his funeral indicated the diminishment of his dynasty. However, what happened after his death is still not clear. Next and last paragraph for today's video. Tut's father or grandfather, Amenhotep III, was a very powerful pharaoh who ruled over a period of 40 years. His son Amenhotep IV succeeded him and began the strangest period in the history of Egypt. He promoted the worship of Aten. He changed his name to Akhenaten, meaning servant of the Athens. He also shifted the religious capital from Thebes to the new city of Akhenaten called Amarna. Further, he attacked Ammon, a god, smashed his images and closed his temples. Ray Johnson, director of the University of Chicago, said it must have been a bad time for the empire as the family who ruled for centuries came to an end and Akhenaten moved in an odd direction. So, thank you very much for watching, and we'll meet once again in the third part. Thank you very much.